Hello, hypothetical audience, and welcome to some hazy cosmic jive. I'm JJNW'S Ghost, and for today's jive, I wanted to go back to 1998 and talk about a show called Serial Experiments Lain. Now, I don't remember when I was first introduced to Lain. I'd estimate probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I was aware of its reputation as a cyberpunk anime with various different gosh, I sound like Charles Barkley, with various different interpretations as to both its themes and its overall plot. I was mostly interested in it because it had the same head writer as Digimon Tamers. Now, a far cry from Digimon Adventure, Tamers starts innocent enough, with an uncomfortable moment here or there before devolving into a full-on horror show for its final arc. I remember loving that as a kid, and I did rewatch it. I believe it was last year, the year before, with Clay, and it still holds up really well. Now, I watched Lain when I was first aware of it, and it didn't do much for me. I do remember feeling uncomfortable when I would walk near a power line and, I would hear that telltale hum. But that's one of the only things I took from the show, aside from Let's All Love Lain and the opening, which is a certified banger. But a couple weeks ago, a few friends of mine started watching Lain, and their conversations and enthusiasm for it convinced me to give it a rewatch. And, of course, I wanted to talk about my experience. So what I decided to do is take notes for every episode while I'm watching them about what sticks out to me. And then I want to make a short video just about each individual episode and my experience with it. I want to go over things like the basic plot, if there's any particular shots that really stood out to me, and what are the major themes that I'm picking up on from each individual episode and how they contribute to the larger themes of the whole narrative. So, without further ado, let's log in to Serial Experiments Lain.
Layer 11, Infernography. This episode's content is cleanly divided into two halves. The first is the psychedelic rock clip show. Given the length of the song, about 10 minutes or so, and its kind of overall sound, it really gave me a Pink Floyd vibe. And while it was going on, it showed various clips from the previous 10 episodes. It was just this giant AMV/recap segment that I honestly really enjoyed. The second half of the episode is Lain fully embracing her nature as a program with power no human being would have access to. She uploads a computer into her brain and deletes everyone's knowledge of the rumor about Alice and her teacher, with the exception of Alice herself. She explains Mal Lain to Alice, but has this really weird design while doing so. Her body is a lot more compact. She's wearing what looks like a combination of Waldo's clothes and an ugly Christmas sweater for some reason. It honestly, the visuals in that scene felt like one of those moments where the show is being weird just for the sake of being weird. And the episode ends with Alice being the one who's surrounded by white, as she's the only person with the knowledge of what Lain has actually done. This episode has by far my favorite title of any episode in the series, Infernography. It's a word I don't think I've ever heard outside of Lain, which works since this one word feels like a summation of The Wired. It is about the lust for information and the addiction to the power that comes with having information. And I feel like that's why Lain's assertive side is the way she is. She has information, and she can easily find info that she doesn't have, which gives her power. Other characters frequently discuss The Wired as an intercontinental railroad of information. It's something to be treated with reverence, but at the same time in moderation as well. And then you have the god of The Wired himself, who refers to himself as this omnipresent being And he clearly seems to get a power high off all of the information that he possesses. Infernography. That's a great word.
Layer 12. Landscape. This is the Let's All Love Lain episode, which is one of the only things I remembered from my first viewing. It's part of Protocol 7, which is the seamless connection between reality and the wired via Lain. There was a discussion in an earlier episode about how humanity stagnated and can't evolve anymore without using the wired, but now humanity can evolve as God intended. The Men in Black speak with their client, and the scene ends with them dying, and I'm not really sure how. There's some invisible monsters that come out and get them. I don't really know about this scene. This is one of those scenes that just feels weird for the sake of being weird that I don't super get into. What I do know is that Alice is clearly wary of Lane's new abilities and is the only one that Lane allowed to keep the memories of those rumors. She visits Lane's vandalized home and finds her covered in wires, which again, one of those great looking shots of the show. The two of them talk, and Lane says that she loves Alice, though it's not clear if this is something that's platonic or something romantic. Lane says that you're my friend without connecting to me. This to me is one of the most important lines in the show because it's really getting into one of its major themes. That in-person connections in relationships are stronger or healthier than electronic ones. Alice convinces Lane that Lane is alive, that she's a real person, that she's more than a program. Then Lane tells the God of the Wired that he was never real and that he's not a real God because, well, someone had to make him, and whoever did that is the actual God. So unfortunately, I'm finishing up this script a couple weeks after I watched the last two episodes. So I don't exactly remember where this one finishes and the other one starts, but that scene sounds about right for the ending of Layer 12. Overall, I think it's a pretty alright episode, with a very memorable scene and a really important line that I think does a good job of setting the stage for the finale.